Hi everyone, this is Rebecca from Farm Animals and Homeopathy, and we're going to try this one more time. We wanted to share a chat with everybody today, giving you an opportunity to hear about some remedies and flower essences and some herbs that will help with poultry and parasites. It seems like just about everyone who has birds of some level or another, whether it's chicken or quail or ducks or geese, that they've struggled with lice and mites, and they can really take you down a notch. It can feel overwhelming and it can go on for quite some time. It's definitely something that with the right remedies and a lot of tenacity and just willingness to get through it, you can find the answers and get ahead of it without losing your flock or feeling like you want to give up and just buy eggs at the grocery store again. I know plenty of people that have done that over the years, and I can certainly understand why. So with homeopathy, there are many options. And as you know, for any of you that have been using homeopathy, there are symptom pictures that go with every remedy. And of course, that sometimes can be lumped under something like lice, but you might try 3 or 4 remedies and not have any results. And then all of a sudden, you'll try the last remedy that you have in your kit or the last remedy that you've read about. And with a lot of due diligence and some effort on your part with cleaning and maintenance, you'll be lice free. And if you're anything like me, you're going to be checking every 2 days and picking up every chicken you can get your hands on and flipping up their feathers and saying, really, really? Is it really gone? Is it really over? So the very first remedy that I think about whenever I think about lice actually was introduced to me years ago when I had a coworker whose daughter constantly kept getting lice at school. And I remember being in school at the time for homeopathy, and my teacher just kind of off the cuff mentioned this remedy. And it always stuck with me for whatever reason. So I was thrilled when I convinced my boss, my coworker, to um, to try this for his daughter. I said, you know what? You've got nothing to lose. There's no chemicals and nothing to torture her with, because if anybody's ever treated their kids with lice, you also know what you go through. It's an undertaking. You kind of flip your whole world upside down. And it's not that much different when you have a coop that all of a sudden you find creepy crawlies all over your birds. Some people like me, I only have a dozen chickens. I've had up to 30 in the past, but I have never gone above that number. And I can assure you that my husband would never let me do that. But not for lack of trying, and for those of us who have wanted to go into some of the shops that carry the chicks this time of year, and you come out with a baker's dozen because you can't resist and they're so cute that you just have to have them. So all of a sudden your flock might grow by double. Right now I'm attempting, if you'll forgive me, to include our fearless leader, Dr. Alex, and we're still having some difficulties. on my video, please. So we're getting there. We're definitely figuring these things out. And we're hoping to bring you little snippets once a week of different things like this so that you can refer back to the videos and then do some research on your own about different remedies. So going back to my initial story, my introduction to the remedy Staphysagria. It's really one of the very first remedies to think of when you find lice. And mites can also respond to Staphysagria, but they have kind of their own little collection of remedies. And I think if you can take a look at Staphysagria first and see if your birds meet the keynotes, then it's a good place to start. Some of the other remedies that have come up and been very useful for lice in particular with fowl and poultry include a remedy called Sabadilla and another one called Sulphur. And Sabadilla is very well known for treating lice, where sulfur is very good for skin issues in general. So you may find that it could be, you've only found it on a couple of your birds and it's not through the whole flock yet, or, you're flipping up all of your shavings and your hay and the different beddings that you put in, and you're not necessarily finding the eggs or the lice themselves yet. So sulfur might be a good place to start. Um, and another remedy that we think about when it comes to bites and punctures, which lice definitely do, because when they attach, they are attaching to, draw the blood out of the bird or the animal. And that can cause an anemic reaction. But one of the remedies that we first think about for stab wounds or punctures is Ledum. And it's used for a lot of different things, but it's also very good for lice. Interestingly enough, with homeopathy, for those that have used homeopathy for any length of time, they will know that when there's an issue like this, there will often be a remedy made from the creature or critter or mineral or plant that causes the problem. So there is a remedy called Pediculus, which is actually made from lice. Now, for any of you that have dealt with lice, whether it be your children or your pets or your farm animals, you'll know that there are different types of lice. And for the animals, for the birds, for the poultry, people cannot contract those lice. Those lice cannot live on you, even though you'll be in there and cleaning out all of this stuff and getting the creepy crawlies. The good news is with a good shower, you should be fine and you don't have to worry about bringing those in and contracting lice and having to go through that treatment for yourself. So we've talked about a few remedies. There are a couple of others. Apis is one of them. Apis is very good for any edema or swelling, and it can also be good for lice with the bites, depending on how the birds react and respond. If you find red bumps all over them, Apis is something that you might want to think about. And Dr. Alex has just posted another comment reminding me of another remedy that a lot of people have used prophylactically, which is Psorinum. And that is another fantastic lice remedy, very good for preventative. We've had farmers use it for their ruminants, so goats and sheep, which of course they deal with lice, sheep especially, given how long they keep their wool, and until they're shaven down, they might be struggling with something like that for months on end or over the course of the summer. And another remedy that we had talked about was Mezereum. And that's kind of a little bit more obscure, but I think the final remedy that had come up just in our initial search was Natrum muriaticum. And hopefully Dr. Alex will chime in a little bit about the keynotes for that. So we've talked about Ledum, Staphysagria, Sabadilla, Natrum muriaticum, Sulphur, Apis, Pediculus, and Psorinum. Those are some of the remedies that you might look at when you are looking for a remedy for your birds. Some of the other things that we wanted to bring to people's attention was there are other things, natural things that you can use, and it can be as simple as putting crab apple flower essence in their water. That's actually very good for parasites in general. The typical treatment or application is you put 4 drops of crabapple flower essence in their water each day. You can do it as a preventative, and you can also do it while you're treating the lice. One of the other things, both Dr. Alex and I have studied and worked on and worked with herbs and have background in herbal treatments and remedies. And one of the tricks that somebody had actually taught me was to take peppermint essential oil, and you can put that in the corners of your coop and in the hatching boxes. You don't want to put it on their shavings per se, but you can put it on the corners of the wood and the material that you have your coop made from. And this will prevent and ward off parasites. Another trick is to use fresh or dried peppermint or spearmint, pretty much any kind of mint. You can work it into their bedding. You can tuck it under the shavings and again put it in the corners around the edges. Some people will put it in the cracks and crevices. You don't want to eliminate the airflow in the coop. As we know, having circulation is really vital so you don't have ammonia backup, which can make your birds very sick, and it also can play into their susceptibility to parasites if their respiratory system isn't very strong. So tucking plants in around the corners is a great thing to do. And they'll eat it, and it's perfectly fine for them if they pick away at it. Lemon balm and verbena are 2 other herbs that are very effective when it comes to treating parasites. And all of these particular forms of treatment or preventative methods do not cause you any concern with the eggs. You can continue to eat the eggs while you're using the remedies. And the flower essences and any essential oils and fresh or dried herbs in their coop. That's never a concern with regard to consumption of the bird or the eggs. There are other products on the market that we've sometimes had to use if you find an infestation that has just taken over your coop. It can happen very quickly. And these are out there for a reason. There are plenty of farmers that use them. One of them is the liquid ivermectin. You can purchase it at places like Tractor Supply, and I imagine you could get it online as well through Amazon or someplace like that. And I will post a picture of the specific bottle that I have used in the past. The liquid ivermectin is very simple to use. It's a bit of a challenge if you have lots of birds. that are difficult to catch. But if you have a small collection or flock and you can get your hands on every one of them, then you just get a dropper, like from a tincture bottle, and you would, fill it up, and you put 1 or 2 drops at the base of the bird's neck, and then let them go. That will very often take care of the lice. But there the other piece of this is the coop. And that's really what has to be treated in order to ensure that your birds are going to rid themselves of the lice and that the cycle of the lice, the eggs specifically, will be gone because they can rehatch in 7 to 10 days. So you could spend your summer chasing lice, and you really don't want to do that if you can help it. So super important to clean out your coop as as much as possible. Get every single scrap out of there. One of my husband's tricks, which I think is brilliant, though you really have to have some gear, have a good mask, have some goggles, and go in there with a leaf blower. Once you have shoveled everything out and swept it out and really cleaned everything that you possibly can, if you go in with a leaf blower, you can blow out the rest of the dust, any lime or anything that you have left kicking around in there, move it outside, and then go in and spray something called LD44Z. It's a treatment that will kill the eggs and any lice that are remaining inside the coop. Anybody that's dealt with parasites knows that if you have a wooden coop, which most of us do, some of us deal with old barns or old sheds or what have you, lice and parasites can get into the cracks and crevices of the entire coop. So if you can spray, you want to get your birds outside, lock everybody outside for a good period of time, get in there with the LD44Z and spray every crack and crevice that you can. You don't have to saturate everything, but you do have to get a coating of that spray on everything that you can in the coop, the walls, the floors, the nesting boxes, and their roosting bars. Very important to get the roosting bars because anybody that's dealt with lice will know that there are leg lice as well. Leg mites, leg lice, nothing you want to deal with. In the old time, I found some great references from the 1800s where the farmers would take the bird and if they had the leg mites or lice, and they would dip their feet into kerosene and they would rub down all of their perches with kerosene. And that was something that would kill the lice and the eggs and the mites. I don't necessarily recommend that you coat anything, especially in your coop, with something like kerosene these days. But if you're out at a farm and it's the only thing you have, it is an option. So once you have gone in, cleaned out your coop, sprayed it with the LD44Z, you want to let that dry for a good hour. Make sure that you've got ventilation, but that the birds can't get into the coop. And then go in and spread either diatomaceous earth, which I've seen mixed with bentonite clay. It's a great combination. Or just straight diatomaceous earth. Or there's a product called First Saturday Lime that has a lime citrate in it. And I've had great luck with using that particular product. I believe you have to order it online. Again, it's something that I will post some pictures of these different products so that everyone can see and have some reference. So the First Saturday Lime is something I'll typically keep a big bucket of diatomaceous earth in the barn. Whenever I change the shavings, I always put diatomaceous earth down, and then I put my shavings down, and then I sprinkle a little diatomaceous earth on the shavings and kind of work it in. I rub it on all of my all of my perches as well. And then, especially if you've treated for lice, if you're actually having that issue, then you're going to want to put down your shavings and put down, your diatomaceous earth. At that point, before you put your shavings down, you can tuck in your peppermint or your spearmint chunks. Even you can purchase bags of herbs online and you can use that in your coop. And if you do decide to do that, you can actually mix that in with your shavings too. Doesn't have to necessarily go into the corners of all of the coops. It's really good for the birds and they really enjoy snacking on it. If you do end up using the liquid ivermectin, and the LD44Z, you do need to hold your eggs for 7 days. So as a precautionary, you don't want to be eating those eggs. Oftentimes what I do is I'll leave them out for the wildlife critters, kind of a donation to the animals that are around, but you don't want to keep them anywhere around your coop, and you don't want your girls to sit on them and do any brooding or try to hatch those eggs because of the exposure. So I think that pretty much covers it, and I'm really grateful for the time. I'm sorry it took a little bit longer and several tries, and Dr. Alex and I are going to figure out how to get her on here the next time, and I will post the list of things that I just shared. And if anybody has any questions, please send us a message and send us pictures. We want to see how you're doing and how your coop is, and keep sending those questions over. We're really grateful that you're here and we're happy to be of service. Have a great day, everybody, and good luck with your chickens.